about.
I just love you guys, and I appreciate you being here for us, and I appreciate you doing the things that you're doing, and I appreciate you building this. Please like this episode as well as every other episode you do enjoy going on right now that I'm very excited about. And I see Doge, and I see the realignment of the educational system coming together for a real unique opportunity that we haven't had in a long time. And that's exciting more and more each day. It all comes back to coming back to yourself, taking your, you have three brains, right? You have the brain of the head, you have the brain of the heart, and you have the brain of the gut, gut instinct, right? I would love to really be able to get into some comfortable situations where we can start feeding back into the community that we haven't had in a long time. If we take the right approach, we have the ability to really dramatically affect not only the children growth, we could start turning revenues and rolling them into, for instance, here in this small town, seeing what kind of effects we have. We have coming up very shortly, as much as we should. And I think this is probably the strongest because it has emotion as well. And then those two signal to the brain to send out the chemicals that do the work that needs to be done according to whatever I have already talked a little bit about it with Emma on Emma Lynn and Grandpa Rod.
Damn it. I told you, Don, this show is not aesthetically perfect. So let me go from here. When we talk about retirement, most people picture an ending, the last lap, the final chapter, the day you hang it up and fade into some quieter version of life. But what I've learned firsthand, that it doesn't have to be that way. After more than 30 years in the machinery, construction, installation, and sales business, building systems, solving problems, managing people, I thought I knew what hard work meant. For decades, every day had a purpose. The phone rang, the trucks rolled, the blueprints came to life. I was building something real, something special, something solid. And then I retired. At first, it felt like freedom. But before long, that quiet started echoing. You wake up one morning and you realize the structure that used to define your days is gone. There are no calls to answer, no contracts to chase, no fires to put out, just silence. And that silence, it can be beautiful or it can be terrifying, because now you have to ask the one question most of us have been too busy to face. Who am I when I'm not what I do? That's the question that led me here to create this show, Insights and Straight Talk. We began as a conversation about the middle class, about rebuilding communities, and facing change became something deeper, a new mission. I'm having trouble talking. A new calling, because I realized retirement wasn't the end of my story. It was the start of my real work, the kind that touches lives, that builds people instead of machines, right? And it's taught me that purpose doesn't retire. It just evolves. That's why I'm especially excited about today's guest, Dawn Marcotte. She's a certified professional retirement coach, an author, a speaker, a marathon runner, 19 marathons to be exact. I can't wait to get into that. That's crazy. And she's on a mission to help people understand that aging isn't something that happens to you. It's something you can shape with intention and heart. Dawn teaches that retirement is not about stepping away, it's about stepping forward into who you've always wanted to be. She shows how discipline, curiosity, and connection can turn the so-called golden years into your greatest years. And I'll tell you, she's right. If you're out there wondering what's next, if you've spent a lifetime building, providing, showing up for everyone else, maybe this is the moment to rediscover yourself, to rediscover you. Maybe this is your second act. Start that business you never had time for. Write that book. Mentor others, travel, paint, teach, love harder. Or maybe just take time to breathe and rebuild your faith in what's possible. Because here's what I've learned. When the world tells you to slow down, that's the time to speed up your soul. And that's what we're going to talk about today. How to age with excellence, rebuild your identity, reconnect with purpose, and turn what society calls retirement into your greatest transformation yet. So stay with us, whether you're 5 years from retirement or 5 years into it. This conversation is for you. It's proof that the middle class still has chapters left to write, chapters filled with fire, purpose, and renewal. Because when you choose to live with intention, to give, to grow, to serve, your story doesn't end. It just changes hands. And for me, that's what Insights and Straight Talk has become. My way of reminding us all that we're still in the race. Maybe not the same race we started in, but one that matters even more. If this message hits home, don't just listen, join the movement. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Rod Duff 1939. You all know it. You're here. Join our newsletter at insightstraighttalk.substack.com and share this episode with somebody who's ready to make their next act their best act. So, with that, I want to introduce you to my newest, bestest friend in the world. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on today. I'm so excited about this. And I don't know that I need to speak. You really just kind of covered everything for me. I appreciate that. That was beautiful.
All I did is just brush the surface. We always like to dig deep. We like to dig deep here.
True.
So yeah, no, I appreciate that. You have a great mission. You have a great story. As I said, we're going to hear the journey that got you onto this journey, but I've been very excited about this because I'm where you're sitting. Mm-hmm. I'm ready to be coached. I never, people don't ever think about that. I mean, it really struck me when we started talking about this, because it's fascinating, because you don't ever really think about it. And then all of a sudden the retirement comes, and then all of a sudden one day you're sitting on the couch or whatever, and you're going, okay, tomorrow's the same thing again, huh?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things I tell people all the time. If you think about your life as you're living it, child, teen, young adult, middle age, whatever, there's always somebody there ready to give you advice, whether you're planning a wedding or buying a car or choosing a vacation, whatever. There's always somebody there until you get to retirement. And then it's silence, except about the money. Of course, everybody wants to help you with the money, which I'm not saying that's not important, but True. You're not going to spend 40 years looking at your bank account, right? You need help. A lot of people need help figuring out, what are you going to do with your time? How are you going to fill your soul and not just your calendar? And so that's what I help people do.
That's beautiful. I love that. So how did you get here? Are you retired?
I am not yet retired.
Well, I know that because you're an author. I know.
Yeah,
I wanted to help you lead in.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. My husband is within a year of retirement. So let me condense this story down a little bit for you. I am, as you mentioned, author. I have been writing nonfiction, let me help you books for 15 years.
I need your help.
There
need
you
your
go.
help.
I started when my kids were little. So my first topic was what to do with your kids to keep their face from in front of a screen. And this was long enough ago
Whoa.
that all I had to deal with was television and a desktop computer. I didn't have all the things that parents have to deal with
Oh,
now,
yeah.
but
We
I
talk
was
about that a lot.
very passionate about that. And so that's kind of started a pattern of I find a problem or something happens to me. I work through it. I do the research. I figure out, okay, a woman of a certain age has a hard time losing weight. What do I do? Do the
Oh,
research,
good one.
write the book, publish
Good
the
one.
book, move on to the next thing. So I've actually covered a fairly wide variety of topics, from, like I said, grade school kids. My oldest daughter happens to be on the autism spectrum, so I did some things in that industry for a little while. I mentioned the weight loss, but I've also been an entrepreneur. So I've done a fair number of things trying to help people manage online entrepreneurship and learn from my mistakes. Um, my most
Awesome.
recent book is, like, as you mentioned, about retirement. And what happened is that the company that I work
So
for,
hold on
sorry,
just a second, real quick. Yeah, no. So how many books have you written?
about 20.
Okay, yeah, I didn't pick that up in my research. I apologize about that. So
Oh,
you're
no. You can only buy about 5 of them because I go back and look and go, oh, that's horrible. No one should read that. That's terrible. And pull it off the
that's so
market.
funny. I've got 3 and only one I now want to think, because the other ones were just for my own self-help. And
Yeah.
I oh, that's so funny you say that. Okay, so go ahead.
So anyway, I in full disclosure, I do work for a financial planning firm, but I
Okay.
am an executive assistant. I don't do anything with money or numbers, none of that. That makes my eyes glaze over, not my thing. But the company that I work for does a super job for their all employee meetings, and they bring in people with topics that apply to everybody, not just the
Oh,
advisors. And a number of years ago, they had someone come and talk about the last 8,000 days of your life, which is retirement, if you divide your life into about 4 sections. And
gotcha.
it just resonated with me, talking about, as I mentioned, nobody helps you plan for the non-financial stuff. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, my husband's going to retire in a couple of years. All of his friends are at work. He no longer does things. He gets up, he goes to work, he comes home. That's it. That's his life. No hobbies, nothing anymore. Because over the course of time, of course, the friends that he had, people move, change jobs, all the things that just happen naturally in life. And, he's been
Yeah.
focused on the family while our kids were growing up. But now that our kids are adultish, right, it's basically just the 2 of us. And I love my husband, but he's an extrovert and I'm an introvert. And the pandemic taught us one thing: I cannot be his only source of social interaction. That's just not going to work for us. So
Absolutely. I hear that. I hear that, because that's a big deal. I mean,
it is.
it's not just you guys.
Mm-mm.
It's like, honey, I love you, but get the hell out of here, do something one way or the
Exactly.
other, right?
Exactly. I don't want him to retire to the couch. I want him
Right.
to retire to something meaningful, right? So that's what kind of got me going down this road of, well, how do I make retirement better? So I did go out and get a certification. I am a certified professional retirement coach, and I
So
learned
what is
so
that?
much.
Let's stay here for a second.
Okay.
What is, I know what being certified. Well, I have an echo in here, don't I? Sorry about that. But does it sound bad coming to you?
There's a little bit of an echo, but not bad.
Yeah, I don't know why wow, it's really echoing in here. By the way, we have 144 people on right now.
Okay.
Now, what was I asking? So what is I know that there are specialties and things, and being
Mm-hmm.
certified in that and
Mm-hmm.
learning about that is critical. So what does that look like? What did that process look like?
So it's a fairly new designation. I'm sure many people have heard of life coaching, and there's all
Yeah.
different kinds of coaches out there, and there are plenty of programs. The Certified Professional Retirement Coach focuses on retirement, but the non-financial side. So learning about, well, what does that mean for social? What does that mean for intellectual? What does that mean for emotional? Those different things, and learning how to help people figure it out for themselves because it is coaching. So that's a big part of it. But
Absolutely.
specific to retirement. And there's a whole bunch of activities and worksheets and all kinds of things that you work through. And of course, you'd spend a certain number of hours practice coaching. So just to reassure everyone, if you actually have a financial advisor and they have letters after their name, the same organization that recognizes their letters recognizes mine. So I didn't go online, take an hour class and print off a diploma. There was some work involved in this, right?
I'm glad I asked that.
Yeah. And so I really learned a lot. Of course, there's always more to learn, but it was amazing to me the way they framed it, because there is such a cultural idea that retirement is a certain thing. I mean, we've all seen those commercials about, turning into our parents when we buy a house. And I think they're funny.
You're right.
But the underlying idea is that, well, now that you've retired, you're useless. No, not right. That is so not the case.
It's the opposite. I mean, if you think about it, because I'm 63. I now have 63 years of experience, and it's especially when you get into your 70s and 80s. You've got such a wealth of knowledge, no matter what you've done.
Exactly.
And I mentioned mentoring in there. There's and people don't think of that, do they? They get pushed aside because they let it happen.
And I think a lot of people have fairly rigid ideas of what mentoring or volunteering is. They think they have to go to an organization and sign up to do something. And that's not the case. If there is, for example, a hobby that you love that maybe you haven't gotten to do a lot. I pick on golf a lot because I happen to be with a lot of people that love to golf, right? But you're not going to golf every day of your life for the next 40 years. That's going to get boring. But if you really love it, you could start working with people in your family, maybe nieces and nephews and grandkids who have never tried it. Well, hey, let me teach you how to do this. Or people in the community, or go to a local school. And I would love to mentor. I would love to help. I would love to volunteer. So it doesn't necessarily have to be an organization. You can kind of create your own little world of something that you already love, that has probably organizations already created around it that you can get involved in. And therefore, you're going to be mentoring. You're going to be volunteering. You're giving your time to someone else around something that you already love. And that's just as important as any other form of volunteering. But people don't think of it that way.
Correct. And can I just add a point to what you're saying is, as you were talking, I was thinking about this, specific to golf, let's say. But let's say there's somebody out there, whether they're in your family or not, questions are already coming in, whether they're in your family or not, golf lessons are expensive.
Yes.
If you mentor somebody and let's say you're good at golf, you could say, hey, look, I'm retired. I've been playing this, blah, 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 blah. And I'd love to teach people golf. And you don't have to have because we're talking big dollar lessons. And that would restrict somebody, especially younger, of going after that because of the cost, right? I mean,
exactly.
That too, right?
Exactly. That's a perfect example, because whatever you're willing to give is going to lift the world up a little bit in that area. And that's what, when I speak, this is what I tell people. I am trying to save the world one retirement at a time, because studies have shown when you are retired, the happiest retirees are giving back in one or two areas of interest, not necessarily volunteering, but as I said, and as you pointed out, working with people in an area that they are already passionate about, and they're helping other people experience that, and they're happier for it. So that is how I'm trying to save the world.
Well, and we say it, we have that similar thing, not necessarily, but change the world one conversation at a time.
Yes.
So same concept.
Exactly. Just a little bit. You don't have to try and save the whole world. Again, our culture is very focused on you got to do the big thing. You got to have the big audience, whatever. Okay, that might make a small impact for a short period of time. But if you really want to make change, it's small changes incrementally over time. And that's where real change happens.
Because you look back and you
Mhm.
see that
You see
difference.
exactly.
Like, you know how they talk about the stock market. It's kind of
Right,
like that, right?
right,
So,
exactly.
so you're reaching out to people, or people are reaching out to you. They're reading your book, and
Mhm.
they're looking for what are some. Well, let's go to this one. Let's just
Okay.
start off with Dirk here. Now, did you want me to read questions, or do
Oh,
you want to read?
either way, whatever works for
All
you.
right.
I don't care.
So Dirk here says, such a powerful topic, and yes.
Yep.
Do you personally define aging? Ex, I don't understand this.
How do you
Do you?
define? Okay, aging
Oh, how do
excellently.
you?
Yes.
How
How
do
do you define?
yeah,
That's a great question, and
great
it's like
question.
swimming
Talk
upstream.
about
Let me tell you, our culture is all about aging is bad, aging is horrible. We should try to stay as young as possible for as long as possible. Well,
true.
aging is a natural biological, it's going to happen whether we like it or not. So,
Absolutely.
aging excellently, I think, is embracing the understanding that change happens, but that you can control how you react. So, I talk a lot
Mm,
about resiliency. It's great to have a plan A, but you also need to have a plan B because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And I think people that age excellently have developed multiple plans. I'm a big list person. So one of the things that I do for people is I help them be curious about different topics, trying to expand. What do you think you might be interested in exploring? Let's make a list. And when you've got a list of 10 things and the first two don't work out, that's okay. You've got 8 more to look at. So you don't go back to that, oh my gosh, every day is going to be the same. I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. You've got, oh, well, I tried golf, but that didn't work out. I didn't like that so much. Hey, let's take a look at tennis, or let's look at learning a new language, or let's look at playing an instrument, whatever it might be that you are even mildly interested in. And when you can do that and you have that bigger picture, then you can age with purpose. And to me, that's aging excellency. It's all about resilience and having plan A and plan B.
So I we do a variety of subjects on the show. It's all
Mhm.
about the great middle class. So we have like
Mhm.
4 lanes, I like to call them, or playlists, right? And within the financial side, where we get into tech, and we bunch of different subjects within the subject. I talk to a lot of coaches like what you're talking about now, and a couple days ago, I had this really interesting show called uh, Set Sail, Captain Set Sail. And the reason I asked him during the show, I said, "That's an interesting. I love that topic. Why did you choose that title?" Because he's scared to death of water. So it was a sideline thing, but it was
Okay.
funny as hell. But what the point I'm getting at, or the what I want to get to, is that he brought up that they did a study and have done these studies about centurions, meaning
Okay.
people 100 years and older.
Mhm.
And there's these pockets
Yep.
all around different areas.
Mhm.
And you know, it wasn't the health, or it wasn't the food, it wasn't the weather, because those things all varied.
Mhm.
But one thing varied is when you have a mission, what you're
Mhm.
talking about, when you're aging excellency. So if you retire to the couch, you're probably starting your decline. I mean, I
Exactly.
don't want to be over dramatic there.
No,
Okay,
but it's
exactly.
true. It's true. If you
You
don't
got a
have a
mission,
purpose,
boom.
Boom,
right?
you're done.
Well,
Why are you getting out of bed? Maybe I don't need to get out of bed today. I mean, that's one of the things I talk about are the 4 phases of retirement. There's that first phase, the honeymoon phase that you were talking about in the introduction about, woohoo, I don't have to go to work today, and I don't have to answer those emails, and I don't have to put out that fire.
yep,
Yes, right? And it's fabulous for like 6 months, maybe a
maybe,
year, right? And then you get
maybe.
into the lost phase. And that's where you've realized you've lost your routine, you've lost the social interaction,
Good
you've
point.
lost the emotional support, you've lost the intellectual stimulation. So your job provides so much more than just a paycheck. And if you don't plan to replace those things, you're going to be really, really lost. And that's why, again, aging excellently and having resilience, you need a plan A and a plan B. Otherwise, you go right back into lost. Okay, you tried one thing, it didn't work. I guess I'm back on the couch. No, no, no. We don't want to do that. We want you to have multiple things going on in your life because some things will have a natural shelf life. A lot of the women, particularly that I work with, have grandkids. And so they agree to take care of the grandkids a couple of days a week. Great. But you know that those grandkids are going to grow up. So,
Yeah.
few years ahead of time, okay, I'm going to need to find something else to fill that time. And so when you have resiliency and you have this growth mindset, you're ready to handle that. And you have a plan, or you're ready to make a plan to have another purpose or a different purpose. Or maybe at the same time that you're doing these things, taking care of your kids, the other days of the week, you're doing something else you're passionate about. Well, let's expand that into your free time that you now have because the kids are in school and they don't really need your help anymore. So it's important to have that understanding that change just continually happens and you need to be ready for it and have that
So,
resiliency.
so awesome all the way around. And there's some questions that are coming down that are right in that area.
Okay.
But before we do that, so let's somebody on here is listening, or maybe several people on here is listening. Still getting close to 150 people. Somewhere in there, there's people that are saying, okay, I just started this, or I no way, okay, or I'm getting to that past that honeymoon stage or whatever, and you talked about having a list of 8 or
Mhm.
10. So what does that look like? How are so people are, for me to come up with 10 things wouldn't be an exactly easy thing.
Right.
This fortunately just caught me on fire, and I didn't have to go to the other 8 or 9. So at the end of the day, what does that look like when how do people, what do they have to think about when they're creating that list? Because you're not just writing random stuff, you're writing something that hopefully becomes important.
Right. So there's a couple different ways that you can go about this. So when I have someone that is just blank, they have no idea. Maybe
Right.
they've been an executive there for 40 or 50 years, and that's been their whole life, and they have not had time to even think about anything else. Well, that's when I hand them a list of 100 topics. It's fairly random.
Okay.
And
Go ahead.
I just say, read through it. Don't think about it. This is important. This is a brainstorming style of activity. Don't think
Yeah.
about it. Circle everything that you are even mildly interested in. Don't think about how you're going to do it. Don't think about whether you're going to be good at it or not. Just circle it, right? And usually when they go through, there's usually a good 10, 15, sometimes more
I
topics.
would imagine more. I would imagine. Yeah.
Right, because it's such a
Then you
wide
got to pare it
breadth.
down. You got to
Right.
pare it down. Then. Okay.
And
Go
then
ahead.
you
Go
can
ahead.
pare it down from there. So the next step is usually, okay, of these things that you are interested in, let's kind of divvy them up. Okay, what are the things that are maybe physically oriented, sports, things like that? What are the things that are intellectually oriented, learning a language, learning a musical instrument? Are there social things, like maybe you want to learn to be a speaker, so you're going to join an organization around that whose name is completely escaping me at the moment. I'm sorry, I apologize for that.
There's actually a few though. There's like this TEDx thing, and
Right,
then
right.
there's Speakers International, I think, is a big
Right.
one.
So there's all kinds of groups, right? So we kind of divvy it out into that because there's more than one area of your life that you want to address. You need to be thinking about these different things. So once we've got that list, then we start looking at, okay, well, what is local? So for example, my youngest daughter, was really interested in fencing when she was younger. Took a little community class. It was great. She loved it. It was so much fun. Mommy, I want to do this more. Great. Let's look at it. Sorry, the closest fencing club is like 60 miles away. And I love you, but I don't love you 60 miles away. So pick something else. Right? Because she was only 6 at the time. So she still had plenty of time. Anyway, so that's kind of the next step, is looking at, okay, what can I do? What's available to me in my area? And then making a plan. Okay, I'm going to go sign up for tennis lessons at the local country club or whatever, I don't know, sports club. And I'm going to try that for a month or 3 months. I'm going to commit to doing it for a period of time, during which I'll figure out, is this something that I enjoy? Maybe there's other aspects of it, clubs to join that bring in the social, and just kind of really vet it, basically. And if you enjoy it, great, keep going. And then look at the other things on your list. So ideally you have 3 or 4 core pursuits, is what they're called. They're hobbies on steroids, things you're super passionate about, you're really spending a lot of time and attention on.
So I only put this one up because this has been sitting here for a few minutes, but I think we're into this subject, part of the subject. There's some real good ones coming down the road here, but and I just wanted to, Ichel, how can someone rediscover purpose after decades of focusing on their career? We just talked about it. So this list kind of establishes that, right?
It
Would
can.
you build on that for her? Is there more?
There's more. Oh, there's more.
Hey, question, Ichel.
Sorry.
There's more. Bring it on.
There's more. So it's fine. That's great for maybe starting to figure out some different activities and things that you might want to do to fill your time. But in order to really find the right purpose to fill your soul, I tell people you need to figure out your values, your character strengths, and your personality. So I have some tools. From the inside out. That's right. Because for many people, going to be a little sexist here, sorry, especially women, especially moms, retirement may be the first time in their entire adult life where we get to choose what works for us.
Yes.
In a way that works for us. So the example that I use, I'm an introvert. Okay. But I enjoy volunteering.
Really? Come on, hold on.
I know. I know.
You got
Let
over
me tell
200 people here.
I'm going to take a nap when we're done. I'm going to take a nap when I'm done, because this is exhausting.
I think I am too. All right, go ahead.
But so when
you are funny as hell, you know that.
Thank you. Well, thank you. So I like to volunteer in different organizations.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I got to milk that a little bit more.
Okay.
So you described yourself out of the gate as you're an introvert and your husband's an extrovert.
Extrovert, yes.
I can't imagine what he's like. If you're an introvert, your description of an introvert, I can't imagine what your description of an extrovert. He must be a song and dance guy.
He's a very outgoing man. Yes, he is. He loves everyone. He loves having conversations with random people just because. So
I bet he and I would get along. Go ahead with your stuff. I just wanted to milk that just a little tiny
I appreciate
bit more.
that. Thank you. So anyway, back values, character strengths, and personality. So introvert, extrovert is an easy one to peg. If you're an introvert and someone says, hey, you're retired, would you come and volunteer at my event and greet people as they come in the door? No, not the right thing for me as an introvert.
Introvert. Sorry,
an introvert. But I would be happy to help you with the social media stuff, because that's just me sitting in front of a computer, or the newsletter, or the whatever. It's not saying no to a particular thing. It's understanding what works for you and what you're going to enjoy. Because if you get sucked into doing something that you don't enjoy and you don't really want to be there doing it, you're not going to like it, and they're not going to get the best out of you. And it's just going to be a bad experience all the way around. So it's really important to understand your values is important also, because they may change. When you retire, you may have entirely different values. Well, I shouldn't say entirely. They'll rearrange themselves from when you were working, because when you were working,
For
you're in the
example,
trenches, right?
for example, for
So
example,
for example, some of my values, I am still working, but um, I am very focused on my family. But as my
Mhm.
family has aged, I am not as
Ah,
focused on my family because they don't need me anymore. When my kids were in middle school, I remember going through a very dark period because I have always wanted to be a mom. I have an elementary education degree. My entire life had been focused on children to that point. And all of
mhm,
a sudden, they
mhm.
don't need me. And I was thinking, well, who am I now?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
I'm still a mom, but I'm the mom that, give me money, drive me. That's it.
right.
Parents of teens understand this, right? Um,
Yep,
it's much the same when you retire. Things have changed. So
good
the
point.
priorities you had before are not going to be the priorities you have now. And you need to understand who you are and what resonates with you so that you can make the choices that will, as I said before, feed your soul and not just fill your calendar. And it makes such a huge difference. Such a huge difference.
That is a awesome point of, and kind of leads us right into what Rot, sorry. What's the first step to finding meaning once you retire? We're here, and
Hmm.
what you just said is you've got to work from the inside out and get
Hmm.
those values and those. What are
Hmm.
some of the other things that you can fill out for Rot here?
So the other things, there's a couple of tools that I use that kind of talk about the different areas of your life, and the one that I use the most is called the SPIRE model, and it talks about the five. Sorry, I had to count 5 areas of your life, and understanding how you're doing in those areas. So it's Spire is I'm probably not going to remember it off the top of my head, but spiritual, physical, intellectual, relational, and emotional. So we take a look at those different areas of your life and what are you doing in them right now, and how
Mm.
do you feel about that? Is it enough? Is it not enough? So, for example, myself as a marathon runner, my physical stuff, I got that locked in. I'm fine. I have training programs,
You're talking about full marathons there when
full
you're talking about.
marathons. Yep, 26.2
I've run
miles.
one when
Good
I
for
was younger.
you. See?
Yeah, but not 19. My God, that's amazing. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm
So
sidetracking.
so you kind of assess where you are right now, and then I help you figure out how to get to where you want to be. So for many
Mm.
people, the intellectual is something that they haven't really thought about a whole lot because they get enough of that in their job. They
What does
haven't
that
thought
mean?
about
What does
intellectuals
that mean?
is learning things is the easiest way to say it. So you are
Okay.
utilizing your mind to learn and add new information, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a class or even learning a musical instrument or a new language or anything like that. So for example, I've recently started learning how to do Tai Chi. I have an app on my phone. I follow the
I
little
want to
person
do
on the
that.
app,
I want
right?
to do
So
that.
anything that adds knowledge is intellectual, and people don't think
You
about
know,
that as much.
and can I add to that if I might? The additional advantage. So you have synapses in your brain,
Hmm.
right? Obviously,
Hmm.
and when you learn something new, you create new
Hmm.
synapses. You not only become more intelligent, your brain starts to hurt because you're because you don't know this yet, but you're building those synapses, and I bridged this over into I had a meeting with the Oklahoma Health Department because we do a lot of fitness stuff and that kind of stuff too. And they're trying to figure out, there's a lot of rural areas. So it's not like people can go knock on doors and hand them a
Right.
pamphlet or whatever. But so while we were talking, my dad had, some problems, not Alzheimer's, but what's the other one? I'm going,
There are many to choose from.
yeah, but the big window is
Dementia.
dementia. Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you. So, we have 500 people on, girl.
Oh, wow.
Over 500. Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's very good. So the reason I said that is because when you're learning something new, the intellectual,
Mhm.
you have a much bigger chance of becoming a centurion now. And
Yes.
it's not just about quantity, it's
Mm-mm.
about quality.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's an awesome
Mhm.
thing. So
Well,
go
and
on. I just
the
wanted
other
to
thing
add
about
to that.
intellectual, I just want to throw in real quick, is it doesn't
Mhm.
even have to be a deliberate learning. If you
No,
join a new club because you love to golf, so you've joined a new club, you're meeting new people. That's intellectual. You're having new conversations with new people and learning about their lives and them. And so it actually, everything really intersects. It is very difficult to specifically target one little area and not positively impact all of it. So, new social things. And I have to say this is the one thing everybody needs to remember. If you don't remember anything else I have to say today, the number one indicator of happiness and satisfaction in life is the quality of your relationships. That is what you need to focus on more than anything else, because if you focus on that, everything else will just kind of naturally flow with that. But that studies have shown, this is not just me, by the way, there's lots of studies out there that regardless of age, marital status, where you live, what you used to do for a living, how much money you have, whether you have a dog or a cat, doesn't matter. Relationships are your number one indicator of happiness. Okay, sorry.
what is the
I just had
qual?
to
No,
throw that in
no,
there.
no, no. And I want to ask. I want to hover. What is that? What is the quality of relationships? So naturally, it's a good relationship, or it's this,
Mhm,
or it's that.
mhm.
What do you mean by the quality of relationships? We just got a bunch of questions, so can you give me some time to
Oh, sure,
expand
sure,
on?
sure. I will be happy to expand on that. So, quality doesn't mean how many people you interact with. Quality means that you have people that you have feelings for, friendships. It could be a spouse, it could be other family members, but it is that knowledge or that idea that you want to spend time with them doing whatever, and they want to spend time with you. So it's a reciprocal relationship. And one of the things that I coach people to do, particularly people like my husband who don't really have relationships outside of immediate family and work, is make a list of people in your life that you already know that you might want to build a stronger or bigger relationship with. So, for example, I have several friends, actually, most of my friends I met at work at some point, but I'm not working with most of them now. But while we
That's
were
the
working
key.
together, I thought they were interesting. So when they left, or when I left, I reached out to them. Hey, I really enjoyed working with you. Would you like to go to lunch? Or, hey, I know that you really enjoy, this particular kind of movie, and there's one coming out. Would you like to go with me? I'd love to go together, right? So relationships are an ongoing, it's not just a one and done. It takes time to build, but when you have that common factor, something you both enjoy doing, you can start there and see how it goes from there. So that's how I encourage people to start building relationships. And you don't have to have a lot. I have 4 friends.
Mhm.
2 of them live in the same state that I do. So, it doesn't look the same for everybody. My dad, who is the most extroverted person on the planet, has to talk to at least 4 people before breakfast or he feels lost. So, everybody's a little bit different. That's the other thing, is to pay attention to what feels right for you. Don't worry about what your spouse is doing or what your friend is doing. What's right for you? You don't want to get overwhelmed with too many people, because then you might just back off and then you don't have any, and that's not right either. So pay
Yeah,
attention to how you're feeling about it.
that gets tough, especially if you're an extrovert. You
Yeah.
you have a personality that also draws people in. The next
Mhm.
thing you know, you got 30 friends, and it's like,
Yeah.
holy crap, whoa, I one after the other and you're exhausted by noon.
Exactly. Yes.
You
You
know,
don't
that's a good point.
No
Go
is
ahead.
a full sentence. I'm just saying.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So now there's one I wanted to jump on here. Well,
okay.
I'll go ahead and do it now. Let me skip this because I'm going to come back to you, David. What does this role? Is it this one? No, I can't wait for that one.
Uh-oh.
How do you help? Who am I now? Okay, I think it's this one. Is it? Okay, so we already talked about this,
Yeah.
but what we didn't talk about, Clive, is, we both kind of mentioned, whether you're 5 years away from it, 5 years into it, you're 6 months, the honeymoon's over. Is there something that you have to offer that, like, what's an average? Apparently Clive is a little concerned here. It sounds like
I get
he's
that.
in the moment.
I
He's
get
in the
that.
moment, I think.
And I wish there's a quote that I love to share with people in my presentations, and I should memorize it, but I don't have it memorized. So I'm just going to fumble through it here, is that change is constant. And as adults, as human beings, we think wherever we're at, we're adult, this is it. This is what we're going to be for the rest of our lives. That's not true. We are going to continue to change. And so that feeling of being lost does go away. You can help it along to go away a little bit faster in the choices that you make, in what you choose to do, who you choose to interact with, just really being conscious of the knowledge that it will change, it will go away. What can I do to make tomorrow a little bit better, a little bit more interesting? And keep moving forward that way. Be active in your thought process, because it is very common. Now, most people who don't come to me or don't read my book, sorry.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let's before you go on, most people who, but let's use this moment.
Okay.
Talk about your book and talk about your coaching. Talk about, and by the way, before we end, see how fast it goes. We're already at 46 minutes. And it feels like we just kind of started.
Yeah, it goes so fast.
515 people. We're just chatting with our friends. We got a lot of friends. We got a bunch of friends here.
Wow.
So what does I forgot my book.
Coaching in my book. That's all right.
Yeah. So talk about and before, in the next little bit, if you could put your contact information in the private chat there.
Of course. I will do that.
You know how it works. Somebody's going to come on an hour after the show because they had a meeting or a
Who
week,
would do
a month,
such a
year.
thing?
I know. Come on, it's more fun live. It's way more fun live. But sometimes people got stuff to do.
Yes.
So if then they're going to say, "Hey, what did you mean by that?" Or what did Dawn mean when she said? Well, if they leave the comment on the show itself, I don't know how long or quick, but if there's a contact, they can push you straight to you.
Right? Yep. I will put in my LinkedIn. That's the best way to get me. I'll put in my LinkedIn profile here.
Subscribe to the show.
Oh, there you go.
Plug.
There you go. Okay. So, as a coach, I have a couple different packages that you can do depending on how much work you want to put in between each session, 6 sessions or 12 sessions. And obviously, if we don't get it covered in 12, we just keep going until you get it figured out. But I am only one human being, and I cannot coach the whole world. I just don't have that much time in the day. So my book, which is called Filling the Blank Page, How to Build a Retirement of Passion and Purpose, available on Amazon and other fine retailers, is what they say, right? Is another great way to kind of walk through all of the information and so much more than what I have shared today, as well as the interviews that I did with about 50 people who have retired. And I said, what is one piece of advice you would share with someone that is approaching retirement? And they shared that with me, and I put it in the book. So it's not just my information. It is from people who have lived it. But back to the question of how long do you feel lost? For those people who don't come and talk to me or don't get my book, it's usually about 2 years it takes to figure out what is my purpose, because there's a lot of trial and error in there. There's a lot of, well, I'm bored, so I'm just going to do whatever somebody asks me to do because that'll fill my time, without asking myself, is that going to resonate with me? Is that something I really want to do? So by being deliberate and understanding that, okay, I feel lost. Now I know I need to replace my social interactions, which will help with my intellectual and my emotional. What are some things that I'm interested in? Am I already involved in a hobby that's maybe an individual hobby. Like I'm a runner. I go and I run. It's just me. I am as slow as a turtle. I am not running with people. It's embarrassing. But when I retire, there are all kinds of, moms running groups and all kinds of things that I could join to meet new people. And you start meeting new people and they have other interests, and maybe you form a relationship and you start doing other things, get introduced to other things. Or maybe you're already in a group, but you're just the guy that shows up, does the thing, and leaves. Well, maybe instead of doing that, you get more involved. Are there offices, president, vice president, I don't know, whatever, people that do things with the club that maybe would benefit from your help or your expertise? That's another way to meet new people, to expand what you're already doing. And just having that growth mindset of, okay, I know I need to change. I know I need to fix this. There is a process. What is my first step? Okay, then what is my second step? Again, incremental changes over time will bring you the change you're looking for. Trying to fix it all at once isn't going to work. Just small changes over time, and you will end up someplace that you never even imagined you're going to be.
Wow. And I can picture it if I'm correct. And you're kind of leading into David here, but incremental changes. So you're here and you make an incremental change, and now you're starting from here and you're making an incremental change, and it's a comfortable, instead of trying to I think the way he puts it here, evolve as we age, or do we redefine it completely? So that's kind of a difference here, right? Isn't this a juxtaposition in what David's asking? So, and then like he used the stock market, and then 5 years from now, you're here, it's been doing that, right?
Exactly.
Right?
And you don't need to completely redefine yourself in different ages. I will say, unless something catastrophic happens, which does happen to people, a major health change, whatever, right? Then you may need to really rethink and redesign what you're doing or how you're doing it. But in general, as you grow and age, your interests will change, but it's natural. It's a natural change. And so instead of doing, this over here, now you've somehow intersected with this over here. I'm going to go do that now for a while and let this kind of slide away. So it tends to be a very natural progression, particularly as you're being introduced or you're getting to know new people. They may have interests that spark your interest. Oh, hey, I never thought of astronomy. Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, I would love to go with you to astronomy club tomorrow and see the northern lights or whatever, right? So just by living, you're going to be introduced to new things, and write them on a list. I'm a big list maker. So as you see them or interact with them, keep track of them. So if you don't take advantage of it now because of whatever, you don't have time, whatever, 5 years from now, you look back and go, oh, hey, that's right. He talked about that. You know what? I have time. Now I'm going to go back and look at that.
I love that. I love that. So I think we really pulled that one together, David. If you have any other, no, I meant this, or I also, what about this? Please ask the question. Amy here. What role does community? And this is the one I was really excited about getting to, because we're very community. I live in a small community, and I did that because we're in the process of what we call the Regeneration School Project, and the reason I'm here is, one, because I'm in the middle class. I moved here from Chicago, from California to Chicago after so many years, and then my kids are in Texas now, so they're just over the border. But sorry, kids. But the main reason was because, and they have grandkids, so that's the main reason,
right?
And then the being authentic. I can't live necessarily in Chicago and be talking about the great middle class when there's so much more of us out there to explore.
Right.
But the Regeneration School Project we're in it's adding a fifth core, which is basically life, right? School's very good at teaching to take tests and all that, but then there's because we do a lot of homeschooling, people
Okay.
that do homeschooling, these different things. So we're building off of that, right? This fifth core. Anyway, so we talk a lot about community because it's about inside out, your family, community, on and on and on. That's what the great middle class needs to come together on. Low pitch here, but that's so when Amy is talking about what role does community play in thriving after in retirement. So I'm guessing what we're talking about here is being involved in the community to find out what's there, and then you're working or fill that out. Am I missing something here?
No, you're exactly right. Community is important. Many communities have like senior centers, and there's
Mhm.
this idea
yeah.
that you don't go to a senior center until you're old.
Right. Right.
But they provide a community of people in the same age that you are. I live in a major metropolitan area. I happen to live in the Twin Cities in Minnesota. Lots of 55 plus communities here. Again,
Yeah.
that's a community of people in the same life stage as you. So it is important, if possible, to find that community, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that. I'm a woman of faith, so I am heavily involved in my church. There's lots of different little pockets of community there. That tends to be more gender associated than age associated, but that's fine. I can talk to women younger than I am and share my experience, and listen to women older than I am and learn from them as well. So the community doesn't necessarily have to be just people that are retiring or are retired. Be open to multi-generational. That can be very, very exciting and invigorating to be exposed to those different generations and be learning from them and sharing your knowledge. And that can help give you a purpose as well, because you're teaching other people what you have learned. You're sharing what you have learned. So yes, community is very, very important. And like I said, if you don't happen to already have a community in your life that you're part of, those are some good places to start, is the local senior center, community education, worship, place of faith, things like that. Great place to start.
That's beautiful. So, and early on, we kind of talked about this, but how do you help people deal with the who am I feeling after leaving work? Because like in the very beginning, we talked about, okay, you leave work, now what your whole purpose is gone.
It's gone overnight.
How do you help people? How do you help? Right, exactly.
Well,
how do you help people?
The first step is realizing that you're more than just your job. I know you've been focused there for a really long time, but
built
one of the things,
life around it.
Exactly. But one of the things I like to have people do is I want you to write down all of the things that you do or are involved in, not with your work. And commonly it's, I'm a mom, I'm a marathon runner, I read, I cook dinner, I do laundry. And I know those maybe don't sound terribly exciting, but the idea is to help them understand you are a whole person. You are not
especially
just
moms.
your job.
I think,
especially moms.
I think very much, and people that have divested or invested completely in that, and I don't think there's anything else in the world that is more invested in than somebody that you've carried in and your genes and all of that. So go ahead.
So anyway, it's that's just one of the steps, or one of the things that I have them do, is to kind of start to realize that they are more than just their job. You are a whole person. You have all of these things that you do in your life that aren't part of your job. You just do them because that's life, and you don't really think about it. So let's think about that. And then the next step is to start using I am statements. So I am a runner. Even if you have never run in your life, if you start telling yourself, I am a runner because I want to run a 5K this spring, you are more likely to do that because you start self-identifying that way. So if you stop telling yourself, I am a teacher when you're not teaching anymore, but you replace that with something else that helps you
Ooh.
overcome that.
That's kind of that throwing that vibe out in the world, and then things are drawn to you, or you're drawn to it naturally because
Yes.
the brain says, "Hey, I'm this thing. I'm a
Mhm.
runner."
Mhm.
I just, boy, it just brought back a whole bunch of bad memories when I
Oh,
said
I'm sorry.
that. And so your mind wants to stay happy, right? And
Right,
so
right.
you're bringing that into your world at that point, right?
Mhm.
Your attraction.
Exactly. Exactly. And there are all kinds of studies around, those it's very simple, I am statement. And I know it sounds corny and
I
like,
like that.
that's not gonna
I
work,
love that.
but it actually does. So, it doesn't have to be complicated. That's the other thing. I think people have this idea that change is hard and it's gonna take a lot of work and, oh, and I just retired. I don't wanna be working that hard at it. But it's not. It can be very small changes in how you do things or your
Great
perception
point.
of things. It requires maybe continuous effort, but not huge continuous effort, little bit at a time. And I'm going to
So
put,
these
okay,
guys, yeah, do that while you're doing that.
there we
By
go.
the
Oh,
way,
wait.
I have a deal with Bradley Pump here. He when he first started showing up, and he shows up, I don't know, every few weeks or so. But anytime I told him, I said, if you're on, I'm going to give you a shout out. So here's your shout out, Bradley Pump. Good to see you here, brother. But he's asking right exactly what you're talking about. As soon as I see the little red button, I can go over and copy and paste it into the comments. But Bradley's asking here, how do you balance rest? Because that's kind of what you're talking about right now.
Right,
Rest and reinvention during retirement. It's
right.
little pieces, right? Have
Little
you put
pieces.
that in
Well,
yet?
and
I don't see the red
it
dot.
said it failed. I don't know why it failed. I may send it over to you and have you see if I
Well,
send that.
you're putting it in the chat. Oh,
Oh,
yeah. Okay,
there, I
there you
sent it to
go.
you. There we go.
All right, go
Sorry.
ahead.
I'll
Yeah,
get this figured
that's
out.
yeah, we got it. We got you. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, you're retired. You get to choose how much time and effort you spend on any one thing. That's the beauty of retirement. So it's not like you need to spend every minute of every day. Actually, that's one of the things that I work through with my clients is what would an ideal week look like for you? And I actually have them go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, each hour of the day. What would you be doing if it was your ideal day, right? And when you do that, you will find that there are pockets of time that you weren't expecting to have because you thought whatever it was you were going to do was going to fill 4 hours, when in reality, it's only going to take you an hour. So
Okay.
for example, many people, when they retire, they have this idea, I'm going to work out now and I'm going to get in really good shape and I'm going to be really healthy. Well, it's not going to take you 4 hours to do that. I run
Yeah.
marathons, and unless I'm actually training and running the miles, my longest workout is an hour,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So,
That's where I am. Yeah.
right, it's just it doesn't take that long. So then what do you
And
do
then
with the
there's a
other
lot of other.
3? There's a whole lot of time. So that's when you can say, okay, one day of the week, I really want to focus on outreach to people I'm trying to build relationships with. And I'm going to send emails, or I'm going to make phone calls, or I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do, or I'm going to take
Mm,
somebody out to lunch. Every Thursday, I'm going
mm.
to take somebody out to lunch, right? So you can kind of put it into the schedule and build it in, but make sure that you're not overwhelming yourself. I have a no meetings day. Thursday is supposed to be my no meetings day, but I made an exception for you. So, but I
We're just
know that
having. Hey, we're just
we're just
talking with
having fun.
friends. This is
We're just
that's
having fun.
everything.
Exactly, right? But I know that every Thursday, I'm not going to have to go talk to anyone. I'm not going to have any meetings. I can spend my day heads down working on my business or whatever it is that I know needs serious concentration for an extended period of time, because I know on Tuesdays I'm back-to-back meetings for this, that, or that, whatever, right? So you can take the time to really think about, what does your ideal week look like, and schedule the things into it that you want to work on. And maybe it's not weekly, maybe it's once a month, maybe it's every other week, whatever works for you. But the other important part of this is to actually put it on the calendar. That's another thing that I have people do is you tell me this is your value. Let's compare it to what's on your calendar, because what's on your calendar is what actually gets done. If they don't line up, there's a problem. When you're in retirement, you can take the time to make sure those two things line up.
And realistically, you've lived off of the calendar through your career.
Sure.
So like you said, the things that happen are the things that are on your calendar, because that's what you've always done. I don't care what you do. You've got some sort of schedule. And so that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. So thank you, Bradley. Appreciate that question. Kevin, how can retirees? So, I smiled because you can answer this one really well.
Oh dear. Okay.
Right. How can retirees find new meaning if their partner or their close friends are still working? So,
and that can be a tough
question,
one.
Kevin.
Yeah, that can be a tough one, because you suddenly have all this free time and capacity to do things, and they don't. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. Another common misconception for couples is that when you retire and you're both retired, you're going to do everything together.
Right.
Not a good idea.
Huh?
Not a good idea. So
why is that not a good? I mean, I don't want to. There's nothing.
No.
Because it varies on the people. But
it varies on the people, and I won't say it never works. But if you have just spent 40 years with someone and you've been working and they've been working, and you maybe see each other in the evenings and spend a little time together, all of a sudden throwing yourself together 24/7 can cause so much friction and anxiety, and it's just not a good idea unless you have discussed beforehand, what are your expectations? What do
you're aligned?
And what do you think this is going to look like? What do I expect you to do? What do you expect me to do? Because as the wife, we have a fairly traditional, I do the inside of the house, he does the outside of the house. That's just kind of the way it has worked in our. So he's going to retire before I do. I think it would be fabulous if he cooked dinner every night. Ooh. He might not agree with that. So having those simple conversations like that before is very important. But if one of you is retired and the other one isn't, this is a good time for you to explore things that you know interest you, but might not interest your spouse, right? My husband loves gardening. I usually can identify what's a weed, but not always. So it's just not something I enjoy. He loves it. That's great. Yep. He will have all kinds of things and gardening and blah, 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 blah. Go do that, honey. Leave me out of it. I don't need to participate in that. That's fine. We will also have things that we will choose to do together. We enjoy hiking. We will continue to do that together. Great. But I will have things that I enjoy doing. I run. He's not going to run. He's certainly not going to run the mileage I run when I'm training. That's fine. So it's important to have things for yourself as well as things together. But having open communication is key as you're exploring those things. Hey, honey, I'm really interested in gardening. I would love to build a garden. What do you think about that? Not she comes home and all of a sudden there's an 8x12 garden right in the front yard. No, don't do that. So communication is really key.
So I think you've already answered what I'm coming on here now, because it's about communication. So let's set that aside for a second. Let's say somebody, have you ever had any situation in where you're working with somebody where it's like, but she wants to do, or he, I don't want to be one way or the other. One of them wants, okay, we got to do everything together, man. We got to, we're in love with each other, and they're still in love, in all of this, of this, no matter what, like you said, just because you're in love, you're married, you spend 40 years together, but you're not always spending your whole time together. And it varies depending on the person. But have you ever had a situation where one or the other was like, I want him to do, or she to do everything I do with me, and the other one's like, making what you're talking about. It's like, hey, let's do some things together. And because that's if that situation existed, it could be a fragile situation.
It could.
Have you
It
ever
could.
experienced that? Yeah.
Luckily, I can say I have not personally had to coach
What
people
would you
through
say
that.
if you did?
But I have had people who are not yet retired who are talking like that, where one is like, oh no, I've been waiting 20 years to spend all my time with you. What are you talking about?
Said it.
Right.
Yeah, that's how
And so our advice to them, because this happened to have been in a group coaching situation. So pretty much everybody in the room was like, well, you've made it this far in your marriage through compromise. You're going to need to talk it out with her and figure out a compromise. That's just part of marriage. You don't get everything you want. Nobody gets everything they want in any relationship.
Nor should they.
Nor should they. But if you have this expectation that you want to spend a lot of time with your significant other, you need to share that with them so that they can either wrap their head around and go, oh yeah, I'll give that a try for 3 months. Let's see what happens. Or not so sure about that. How about I agree to, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you and I will spend the days together and I get Tuesday or whatever, right? You have to communicate. Again, share what you want with them and be open to a compromise that makes you both either equally happy or equally unhappy, whichever way you want to look at it.
I love that. So I think we're getting some people here that are really enjoying what's going on. Once you now, Barbie is producer Barbie, so they're talking about the show. So I'll talk about this one. But thank you, Rod and Barbie. But I mean, this is about you for bringing these deep, meaningful conversations to light. This guy was on yesterday too. I recognized it because I couldn't pronounce his first name. Wanho. I think is so that thank you very much. I appreciate it. And then Rochelle says, why don't you read this one?
Oh, thank you for normalizing the emotional side of retirement. Not talked about enough. That is so true. I would shout that from the rooftops if they would let me. Nobody talks about the non-financial side of retirement because you can't quantify it. That's the thing. You can talk about the numbers and I need to have this much money and you know whether you've made that or not. You can't say, well, I need to have this many friends. I know where I made it or not, because the number of friends I want is probably not the same number that you want. And that number may change over time. When I first retire and I'm young and I'm fairly healthy, I may interact more socially with more people. But when I'm 85, I might not want to do that because that's a little too overwhelming for me. So things change over time. But yes, tell everyone about this. It is so, so, so important of a topic, and people just don't talk about it.
And exactly that was exactly the point. I think the reason it's not talked about is because people haven't really thought about it. Yeah, it's like okay. Oh, wow. I never thought about that. Maybe we should talk about it. I bet you that's common phrase. It's been a great show. We're at about an hour and 15 minutes. What would you like to leave? I got your LinkedIn here, correct?
Yep. That's that's the best way to reach me, is through that. And gosh, I don't know.
Statement. What do you want to leave with people?
Wow. I already gave you my big important statement about relationships. I think what I want to leave with people is that growth mindset. No matter where you are or what you're doing right now, you can take small incremental steps to get to where you want to be. If you're not there already, you can do it. It is not too late, no matter who you are or how old you are or where you are. It is not too late to change for the better.
All right. Well, I'm gonna throw you in the green room. Although you're pretty strong. You work out, so I don't know that I could do that. But I'll give everybody your fans 500 and some odd people.
Wow! Thank you, everybody. That's fantastic. Yeah. Wow.
Great questions. I mean, I just love. And this is, it's so funny. I'm going to use this word. This is so cutting edge about retirement because nobody talks about it. And, it's good. we do a lot of shows. Like I said, we do shows 6 days a week. I do a show sometimes I've done 2 or 3. I won't do that anymore. That's bonkers. But I have a lot. I've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of people, to have a lot of conversation with experts. And it's funny because I provide this service to our community, but I actually get free advice from experts every single day. So I'm really changing and evolving as a person, and it's fascinating. Why don't you give everybody a big wave and wait for me in the green room if you would.
I will do that. All right. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
All right. Perfect. Another, as I was just saying there, another great show, great guest. And as I was saying to her, we have a lot of conversations on this show, and it didn't dawn. That was a play of words. Dawn on me that we've never really had this conversation. We have a lot of financial conversations. We have all the stuff we do, AI and the things that are important to the great American middle class. But what is more important? And I always talk about this, and I've never even thought about this. To me, it's quality of life as much, if not more, than quantity of life. I mean, I want to be a centurion. I want to see my great grandchildren and all of that. But quality of life, and how do you do that? It's you have purpose in what you're doing, and this, I mean, this is the most important part of your life. All the rest was building to get here. And Don's right. I mean, all we talk about is the financial aspects of retirement, and of all the shows we do, it's over 400 now. I should say. Never had this conversation. What a great representative for this topic, this subject, the most important, in my opinion, and probably everybody. It's got to be everybody's opinion. The most important part of your life is that retirement. And they say you plan for a vacation more than you plan for who you're going to marry, and that should be the same thing. You should be planning more so for your retirement. Just not the heavy lifting and all that, like Don says. Just little incrementals. What I like to call putting color in between the layers. Right? You just little incrementals, and then over time, one, you're smarter, one, your synapses, one, your brain health is. It's just such a beautiful thing that we just overlook and we don't plan for. So appreciate all you guys being on here. Please, everybody, let's do that. Everybody, subscribe. We're in a goal to get to 10,000 on just here on YouTube. So trying to just continue this message and this mission. And, this is Insights and Straight Talk. Hang out, as I always say, I like to do something a little goofy. I got like 2 seconds after the outro. And Don, you'll meet producer Barbie here in a second. She's been in my life for over 20 years, a couple of decades. So let's say this. I'm out.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here, and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out.
Think about your